here on behalf of the Greater Providence Chamber of Commerce in opposition to both Bills 756 and 769, and we'll take them collectively as I've submitted written testimony that addresses them collectively as well. We're concerned here because we think that, as you just recently heard, that this would make it much more difficult to get approval for power plants in the state of Rhode Island. Obviously, all of us as individuals, those of us who work for businesses or own businesses, we all require power to run our daily lives and our businesses. And we think it's important, and honestly, when this was put together in the 80s, the intent here was to address these issues on behalf of the state collectively. And so that's why we're concerned about bringing in local members to the EFSB, because we're concerned that the state will not be able to address the collective energy needs of the entire state. Furthermore, as you heard, we're also concerned about projects being able to be held up indefinitely while waiting for proposals or additional information. We need to be able to move forward with large energy projects so we can be sure that we can meet the energy needs and demands of Rhode Islanders and their businesses, especially since many energy producing facilities in New England are coming offline shortly and will be in the near term. So it's a concern for us going forward. I'd be happy to take any questions that you have.
This board resembles the state of Massachusetts, and was local members. The state decided to have more public members that they work for the local community. Would you be opposed to something similar to Massachusetts? And Senator Foley had elaborated further the makeup of that board.
I'd like to take a look at the makeup of the Massachusetts board and get back to you.
But your concern is local representation. But again, would you be concerned if it was a statewide body or statewide members that were added to this board, public members?
Again, I would have to take a look at Massachusetts' composition of their board, but the whole intent of the EFSB was so that it could be taken away from the local municipalities and addressed on a statewide basis. So, but I'd be happy to take a look at Massachusetts.
But my logical thought is that since Burrillville is the affected situs, why shouldn't there be local input on this issue?
Well, I have to be completely candid. The analogy that you're looking to draw about the water, I am not in any way involved in that particular bill or process, so I don't really know the details of that, so I can't draw the comparison very well, unfortunately for you. But my broad understanding is that that's more relative to the city of Providence, and that's why that's being put forth. But here we are, all Rhode Islanders need power. And so the reason that we want to take it away from this municipality is because what do you think would happen, Senator, if they were looking to do any large infrastructure project in your district?
Well,
I would suggest.
I can answer that question. They want to put a solar farm in Cranston. I'm well aware of that. And there are calls coming all over the place. But to suggest that my Cranston Town Council, City Council, or the local relevant boards of Cranston should not have a role at all in that seems to be a little problematic.
Well, we're just talking about the energy facility siting where we're not talking about no role whatsoever in any manner. Obviously, the city or town council has been involved in this project. I don't think anyone can doubt that. I remember last year's hearing there was letters that were brought forth before this committee from their council. So
which brings me to my second point, and that's 756. And I, quite frankly, Jerry Elmer always kind of does a wonderful job in making me understand the area of energy law, because I don't know the area of energy law, but he articulates it so well. And to suggest that advisory opinions were irrelevant in the past, I think is a little bit disingenuous, and it goes a little bit to what John had to say. Clearly, advisory opinions were very relevant to the decision to be made, and I think the problem may lie with the fact that the old 1986 statute spoke in terms of may be considered as grounds for recommending denial as opposed to shall be considered. But clearly, the use of advisory opinions are clearly relevant, have been relevant for the last 32 years.
right, but the concern is that we don't want any large project to be held up. which is what you had just heard from John. We don't want anything to be held hostage here. We do need to be able to address our energy concerns. That is the crux of our opposition today, is we want to make sure that whatever changes are made to this process, it is such that in Rhode Island, we will be able to move forward with a large-scale infrastructure project to make sure that we're able to meet our needs.
And the last point I would have asked you about 15 questions if it was in Cranston. I let you alone with just 3 questions.
I appreciate that on her behalf, thank you.
With a little more.
Mr.